Welcome everyone. This is Jeff Ansley, Chief Technology Officer at Cirrus. I'd like to welcome you to this webinar, the latest in a series of supply chain optimization webinars hosted by Cirrus. Our future events are listed on our website. We encourage you to participate in those that are of interest to you. Today's webinar will be presented by Tom Mumby, Director of Supply Chain Procurement at Integrated Device Technology IDT. Today, Tom will be giving us a brief insight into how IDT uses Cirrus to manage cost in their supply chain with the Cirrus Supplier Contract Compliance module. Throughout the webinar, you can submit questions for Tom through the questions tool in the GoToWebinar application. We will compile these into a list for Tom to answer in the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. The software solution that you'll be viewing today is being illustrated in the semiconductor manufacturing sector. However, this solution and our solutions in general are equally applicable in the broader high-tech manufacturing sector. Cirrus is a cloud SaaS supply chain application provider. We've previously focused in the semiconductor market and have recently branched out into the broader high-tech market. We focus on solutions for operating distributed and outsourced supply chains. And our key applications are broken up into three. We base all of our applications on our hub at the bottom, which allows us to connect out to your suppliers, your factories, and your trading partners, and move data back and forth. And our key applications are one, supply chain visibility intelligence, which gives you visibility insight into all the activity in your supply chain, from manufacturing, inventory, financial activities, allow you to collaborate around the POs and invoices, and also we drive metrics, calculate the analytics to allow you to make decisions and drive workflow decision making across your suppliers and your internal business processes. Number two is a design for manufacturing, which allows you to define how you build in a very efficient way and communicate that information out to your factories and your suppliers to ensure that they are efficiently and building your products to spec, and we're validating the compliance on the return side. Today's focus is on the supplier contract compliance product, which allows you to manage your supplier contracts. It specializes in areas where you have variable rate services and more complex contracts than standard unit costing or pricing, and it's a tool that allows you to validate that you're getting billed for the actual services performed by your provider, and that matches the contract terms that you've agreed with your supplier. And we also have a cost analytics, which allows you to tie back your Q&A from your product engineering teams to allow them to understand what the cost of future products may be. And Tom is Director of Supply Chain Procurement at IDT. He has many years, 20 years in the semiconductor space. Deep experience with systems, procurement systems, and operation systems such as MES and ERP, and is a B of A from Michigan State University. Tom.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning, and thank you all for joining today. I've been asked to describe how IDT uses Cirrus to manage our costs. But before I do that, I'd like to give you a brief introduction to IDT. We're roughly $500 million in revenue annually. We're a fabless semiconductor company. We're number one in timing solutions, switching, and memory interfaces. IDT is focused on cloud computing, mobility, 4G, and LTE. We're now leaders in the wireless mobile recharging systems. And as Jeff mentioned, we use the SAP ERP system. IDT manages 16 contract manufacturers globally in 7 countries. A little over a year ago, IDT discovered that we had made an overpayment to a supplier of over $200,000. Upon investigation, we were convinced that this could be the tip of an iceberg. IDT was processing invoices manually and matching costs in the grossest level only. There was no way for us to prevent or even identify overpayments without significantly more staff or finding a systematic way to solve our problem. We chose the latter. So, one of the challenges, or there are actually several challenges that face semiconductor companies today. Quotes are received in increasingly complex fashions, with all subcons now using gold adders, and products are now being built with combinations of gold and copper to reduce the cost. Subcon assemblers are increasingly looking to enhance the bottom line with fees and adders for services that were previously provided for free. And of course, most importantly, each subcon has their own format for the quotation. So timing for the invoicing is also a problem, with subcons invoicing after assembly and others invoicing only after test had been completed. That makes the reconciliation of quantities very difficult. Our old system also did not allow us to separately manage small lot charges or hot lot charges. And these costs had been aggregated and spread across all of the business units as an overhead fee. Those were based on the number of units processed by that BU during the quarter. This punished some of the BUs with higher than necessary overhead charges, while others benefited. As mentioned, there are several problems that needed to be addressed. Invoice errors, overcharges that were only detected with additional staff, difficulty in estimating the cost of new products, and the inability to properly allocate extra service costs to the correct BU. And of course, in addition, we had redundancy of data being housed in multiple locations. With Cirrus, we saw, or expect to see, a reduction in supplier overcharges. We expect to see a reduction in audit costs. We are looking forward to 100% supplier invoice accuracy and 100% accountability to each BU. Since going live with Cirrus, IDT has actually recovered 50K, actually over 50K in overcharges. This may seem like a minor savings, but bear in mind that in the past those would have gone undetected and could have accumulated to several hundreds of thousands of dollars. So now they've been easily detected and stopped before they could accumulate. It describes the IDT system prior to Cirrus. As previously mentioned, it only allowed us to validate invoices at the grossest level. The Cirrus system is much more straightforward, linking our systems for bills of materials, work in process, and manufacturing orders. Additionally, Cirrus captures the daily changing gold price based on each subcon's gold adder methodology. The Cirrus system has allowed IDT to answer what-if questions. Answers to questions like, what would the cost be if gold were to rise to $2,000 per ounce? What's the cost of a new package if we use 0.8 mil gold wire versus 1 mil? Or which subcon is the lowest cost for a specific new package? Unfortunately, this photo describes IDT's previous price lookup process. Since the quote was the ultimate source of truth, in order to give a business unit a new quotation or new price for a new unit, we would have to consult the binders. This was anything but quick and often required referencing several of the binders. So the before and after. I'll use this as a summary slide. IDT selected Cirrus to permit increased visibility on assembly costs. The system provides a methodology for us to quickly estimate new product costs and allows easier comparisons for costs across several subcons. One benefit that we received and didn't anticipate is that through the invoice comparison process, we found one subcon had charged us for thicker wire than the spec required. Upon investigation, we found that the subcon had not updated the spec in their system, while Cirrus provided us a double check against our other processes. Any such project as this involves a number of people, and while I'm the spokesperson for IDT in this event, I'm the least important in making the project work. I'd like to single out a few team members and thank them for their work, specifically Jyoti Gorti, Rusty Ali, and Barry Smith from IT, and from purchasing Rose Chen, and from the accounts payable team, our entire Penang team led by Gary Tan. I would call this project a success, but there are still aspects that we need to be improved. IDT is working with Cirrus to develop an RFQ process that will ease the maintenance of the existing assembly quotes and allow faster input of new contract items. We look forward to continuing support and helping standardize subcon quotes in a format that's most easily importable into Cirrus. Our ultimate goal is to demonstrate that the Cirrus solution is 100% reliable, and our intended target is to be able to pay from our calculated Cirrus cost rather than rely and wait for subcon invoices. Thank you. Invoices.
Great, thanks. In the example that you'd given earlier, when it was found that a supplier used a wire thicker than per the current spec, can you describe how the Cirrus process looks up from the supplier invoice to the BOM part chain to find that mismatch?
Okay. What happened is Cirrus prices based on the IDT bill of materials. The IDT bill of materials described a 0.8 mil gold wire. When we received the invoice from the subcon, they were charging us for 1 mil. Upon investigation, we found that they actually were building with 1 mil, which was not in keeping with our spec.
Right, and maybe I'll just chip in that the way that we allow folks to describe the contract terms is by manufacturing parameter if they choose, and also the formulas that your quotes come in and the variables that define those formula calculations. So that's all configurable to allow you to define a very detailed patterns that match how you get your quotes from your suppliers.